To begin installing OpenWRT on your Linksys 1900AC, first you'll need to go to the OpenWRT website and click the table of hardware link. Then once you click the table of hardware link, it will take you to this page. You'll scroll down and in the model box type in WRT1900. Now if you have version 2, you'll need to select this version here. If you have version 1 Shelby, you'll need to select this version here. I have version 1 Mamba, so I'll be selecting the second option listed. Then you'll go to the View Edit Data link, which will take you to this page with the technical data about the router. You'll scroll down till you see the firmware OpenWRT install URL. You'll click that and it will prompt for you to save the file onto your computer. Once you have saved it, you'll next need to go to your router. The IP address by default is 192.168.1.1. It will do this redirect to this longer URL and you'll be prompted with a sign-in page. If you have set up a Linksys Smart Wi-Fi account, you'll have a username and password box here. The router that I currently have is not tied to a Linksys Smart Wi-Fi account, so I'm only prompted for an access router password. By default, the password is admin, so I'll type that in and go ahead and log in. Alright, and after logging in, you will go to the connectivity tab. Alright, and then on the basic tab after that, you will go to, in the router firmware update section, click choose file, and I have the file saved in my already from where I downloaded it earlier, and you will click start. And what will happen is you'll click yes when prompted and yes to update the firmware. And what will happen now is that it will take that image file and it will install it onto the router. And once the installation has completed, the router will reboot. You'll see this prompt that the router has rebooted or starting to reboot. Click OK and wait a few minutes. You will know once the router is back online. When the router first starts up, by default it turns on the fan, and the fan is checked every 5 minutes. So usually when you turn it on, you'll hear the fan as the first thing, as an indication that the router is powering up. Alright, my router is back online. However, it won't respond to refresh this page. So what you will have to do is go back and re-enter in the IP address, and then you will come to the Lucy page, which is the OpenWRT web interface. There is no password by default when you first install it, so you will need to define a password. If you choose not to though, do note that your router is open to any and everybody that can connect to it. So I'm going to define a password. Now this password will be, you'll need to make note of, because this will be the way you will need to connect to the router again if you use the web interface, or if you use Telnet, or if you use SSH. And the username will always be root. Alright, once you've entered the password, you will go to login, and you will need to again enter the password and confirm the password that you have entered. If you want to enable SSH access, you'll want to specify the LAN configuration as the drop bear instance. If you only want to be able to access the router via the web, I would recommend disabling the drop bear instance so that it's not accessible via SSH. Once you have done this, you will click save and apply at the bottom of the page, and the router will write the configuration options that you have defined to memory so that they are saved. And as you see here, the password was successfully changed, and my SSH access is now defined as being accessible via the LAN. And that is the complete installation to installing OpenWRT on the Linksys WRT1900AC version 1.